Are you ready to go?
I'm ready.
Okay, awesome, thank you. Okay. Okay, everybody, we're going to begin this evening with a public hearing on conditional use CU-1-24 Castiglione LLC, major excavation and steep slope disturbance, approximately 48,000 cubic yards, Westertown Road and Hilty Road, 54.57 acres, tax parcel ID 4912000051 and 4908000012 RR zoning. So with that being said, Michael, does staff have any preliminaries, or do we want to jump right into the applicant?
I could give a brief background, but we could probably jump right into it.
Yeah, brief background, please.
This is a proposed development for 24 single-family lots consisting of a minimum of 1.5 acre in the RR district. As you stated for the record, it's a conditional use approval for excavation and grading of steep slopes. Planning Commission reviewed and made a recommendation to council, and so that's, I guess, sets the stage for us to bring the applicant forward here.
Okay. Wonderful. Would the applicant please step forward? And just please introduce yourself for the record.
I'm Brian Metzler with T3 Global Strategies. We're the engineering firm representing Paul Fischone on this property. Somebody want my name and address to make it easy on you? And this is Bob Melnick. He's a PE with our company also. So we appreciate the opportunity to come in tonight. I think we have a PowerPoint presentation that will give you kind of a background of the property, you know, what we're looking to do, and then get a little more specific on the request and the reason why we're having the public hearing. Do you have a remote or?
I'm sorry.
Oh, no problem.
As the pointer, and should be good there.
All right, thank you so much.
You know the drill at this point.
We do. So I can't ever say it right, Castiglione is a community that we're doing in Murraysville, and like I heard, is a by right RR. So the design of our client is to create really a premier neighborhood, you know, in the suburbs of Murraysville, and he intends to live on the property. So the homes that we are looking at will be 1.5 acre lot minimum. You know, we're estimating the cost of the homes to be around $2 million. And, you know, today we've been working on this project for about 3 years, which extensively work with the DEP and the Conservation District on environmental concerns. And we also looked a couple years ago at possibly rezoning the property to do, you know, a cluster conservation type development. But, you know, through that process, basically came to the conclusion that it needs to be a by right development. So one of our goals of the property is to respect the land and as many trees as we have possible. So obviously with development, we have to install roads and we have to clear to get home sites in there, but we're trying to minimize that impact as much as we can. Another goal of our client is to have all the homes with their rear yards towards open space or trees that are saved, and you know, some that are near neighboring properties still have a wooded backdrop. The environmental concerns, like I mentioned, we do have headwaters of Steel Run, which is on our property. So throughout this process, we have worked with the DEP and with the Conservation District and the Corps. That does require us to have an individual permit for the activities that we are doing, and we're well on our way for that process, and I'll update you exactly where that is in a little bit here. So how we've done that is the streams and everything were mapped with LiDAR. We defined the banks. We set buffers from the top of banks. So we're working out as accurate information as is available. The topography from that, which I said was mapped with LiDAR. We've prepared the steep slope analysis for the request that we have tonight. And we've also done geotechnical investigations. We've had them look at, they've bored the site, they looked at the soil types, they've looked at landslide prone areas. We've well through that process. Part of the comments that we've received through staff was to require the same geotechnical firm to oversee the construction. So those requirements are in the documents that we've presented to date. Just real general background information, the parcel IDs, which were read earlier, the size of the lot, and that we are looking for 24 proposed units, which is a density of 0.44. DEP involvement, we started the process with them with a pre-application meeting in December of 21. We had a second application meeting in 23. We formally submitted in March of this year. We've received completeness review, had minimal comments, and those are being addressed and ready to resubmit. We did get through the Conservation District through completeness, and they're working on their technical review of the project. So we anticipate making our way through that process in the fall of this year. I kind of lumped them together while I was speaking, but this is the specifics on the Conservation District. Then utilities, we have preliminary approval for water. The way that we are servicing water is through the site as a network, and then we're also going to connect our water extension through to Hilty Road to help the authority connect to pressure zones. So it'll be fed, you know, from the park side coming up Weister Town Road, the entire property following the sewer outfall, and then through the neighborhood back up to Hilty. Electric, we've requested the availability and gas. So, you know, we've been through that. We have, you know, everything that we need for public utilities. Neighbors' concerns, I'm kind of jumping into the meat of what we've heard when we had the last public hearing. So we had several public meetings. The concerns were taken and addressed. Our client definitely wants to work and be a part of the community as much as we can. So there's a few things that we have done since the last time we presented, and I'll get to those here very shortly. Well water was one of the big concerns that we've heard from neighbors. That was reviewed in our geotech report, and, you know, kind of the rock formation and everything was discussed, and, you know, they saw limited risk of, you know, any wells. We are below those. The thing that came out of our last meeting is we reviewed the plan and we determined a way for all the adjacent neighbors, if they would like to connect to our public water system, how they would. So we would make an easement available for them to use to connect to. The tie-in would be their obligation, but we'd definitely get them access. And our request on that is that that occurs earlier in the process so that the water connection can be made before we have homes and tear up new yards. So we think it's a reasonable solution and trying to work with the neighbors. Noise and traffic was a big thing that came up. We did follow your land development ordinance. We've completed the proper acoustic statements and, you know, have received no outstanding comments or anything from your engineer. A traffic statement was prepared. It was done by David Wooster and Associates. They reviewed the background traffic and the proposed traffic that was going to be generated from this development, and that has been included in all our submittals. And, you know, something that came up a lot was pedestrian traffic and, you know, Weister Town Road, the flow of car traffic, how it is. As a development, if that's something the township would, or the municipality would like to pursue, you know, we'd support lowering it to 25, but, you know, that's really out of our court and up to you, but we have no objections, and if, you know, that helps the community as a whole, we definitely support it. A gas well, there is one gas well currently on our property. It's owned by Diversified Energy. We have been in contact with them several times on the phone and by email and have forwarded plans to them. And the intention is to cap the well and remove it properly. So that is sort of in their queue to do, and our development will absorb the cost of making it happen. Diversified said that they could get it in the list, but it might take forever for them to work their way to it. So if we paid for it, it would happen sooner. Placement of the main entrance was a major concern, especially from one of your residents. We've considered this a lot. It was analyzed and recommended by Wooster where we place the entrance as far as site distance. Another big concern was, for our side, was stream location. Going through a joint permit, we have to prove that we're minimizing our impacts. So we moved it out of all the buffers and stream locations. So it kind of gave us a window from, where we're at to up the hill, for a lack of better sense, but the site distance and everything we have, we believe is the best location. The actual request for this hearing is a conditional use for major excavation. I think your ordinance requires anything over 5,000 yards to come through this process. We have about 48,000 cubic yards of grading, and that includes the roadways and includes anticipated what we think is a conservative estimate of how the homes would be built. So the way that we are going to build it, we will permit everything through the DEP. We will come in, we will grade for the road, leave as many trees as possible, and then as home sites are sold, the individual lots will be cleared as the homes are coming specifically for the house and foundation that's sold. We're not going to come in and wipe out all the lots, pad out home sites and at the front end. So the other part of our request is that we have a couple steep slopes that we are impacting. So we prepared a plan that shows where they are, and the impacts that we're requesting are following the guidelines in section 2020-35 of your zoning code. So those are allowed, but as a conditional use. This was just, a definition of what the steep slopes and the reasons that you could impact them for paved roads, impounding, grading, building structures, retaining your side yards. So, we're falling within the roads and buildings. Need time to read it, or you probably know your ordinance better than I do.
Yeah, no, I think keep going, thank you.
Okay. This is the slope analysis map. So anything that is in the green is less than 25. So there's really no requirements on that. The light blue areas are areas that, when we analyze the LiDAR, are steeper than the 25, but they don't meet your requirement for a steep slope. So I think you have to be 10 feet vertically or 20 or 50 feet wide. So if you get a little sliver of a bump within your topo that's steep, you're allowed to impact that. The two areas that we are requesting to impact is this magenta color here and right there. So, and I actually have cross sections of those on the next slide for you. So the first one, this would be where our road's coming in. So we have a little bit of area where our home with a basement would be, then some rear yard fill. Section B, the other one, we actually have to be fairly low with our road because we're getting down to a creek for a culvert crossing. So our steep slope is essentially cutting the top off and making the steeper flatter. So those would be the two impact areas that we're requesting. And then, not that this is really this, but we're trying to give you the whole picture because I know that the public wants to know this as a project and not just the little piece that is a conditional use. We have one waiver request for the whole project, and you have a section in your ordinance that allows one flag lot per block. So we have a cul-de-sac that's not a traditional block, and we're requesting two. And the reason why that is, it's less impact on the slopes, it's less road, it's less infrastructure, and it allows us to site the homes in a way that sit better. So your cul-de-sacs have to be 5% fairly flat, and driveways can get up to 14. So it allows us to make up grade change on a private lot as opposed to coming in with a flat road and cutting all around the cul-de-sac. And then really, I think where we're at with the process is we've met kind of all the concerns of the municipality. We have a couple small things to put in the plans that were just cleanup items, but we have a clean letter, from staff and engineer that we've met the ordinance. So really, we're here tonight for the public hearing to answer any questions and, you know, address the concerns however we can for you.
Okay, awesome. So, council, that was a really great presentation. Questions or concerns for the applicant?
A couple, are there going to be any grinder pumps?
There is one lot that the basement of the lot's going to sit lower than where we can get gravity sewer. So they would pump from their basement floor to their front yard to gravity, but there will be no pumps that are publicly maintained and none that cross any property lines or anything else.
Okay. You did mention our public water system. Are you referring to our MAWC water system, or is it a private water system?
It's a public water system for Westmoreland County, correct?
Okay.
Okay, council?
I have a question. When you said that the entrance was at the maximum from the Temesco property, was that moved? Is it changed from the original plan?
It has changed over the years, but since we've submitted like full land
Since
development,
the last?
it has not changed. So it has not changed from the last public hearing.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, council? Okay, at this point, what I think is we'll open it up to, is there anything else from you before we go to public comment?
No,
Okay.
I think we got through everything we could, trying to respect your time and not get too far into the
Absolutely.
weeds.
No, I really thought that presentation was great and well put together, had all the information, so thank you very much. Mike, Wes, anything we want to get on the record?
In my review of the plans, the sanitary sewer easement will have to go across a portion of MCP, which again will bring into play the Donated and Dedicated Property Act. So we will need to obtain Orphans Court approval for the grant of that easement.
Okay. I imagine we'll be in discussions with the applicant about prices for that easement, correct?
Yes, who the moving party would be and cost reimbursement, of course.
Okay, absolutely. Michael, anything to add?
No, I think that about covers everything.
Okay, thanks again, great presentation. At this point, what we would ask, if anyone has public comment about this development specifically, please come forward to get it on the record. Again, we limit it to 3 minutes, we let everybody go over, but again, let's get it on the record and see where we're at.
All right,
Thanks,
thank
guys.
you.
And please just state your name and address for the record, sir.
Yeah, my name's Michael Temesco. I live at 4250 Westertown Road. I object to this. You know, my biggest concern is my quality of my well water. They said that everybody's sits above. My well sits below Westertown Road, so that's not accurate. You know, topographically speaking, you know, the quality of where that water runs into my well could be affected, you know, the quality of water, as well as the amount with a major excavation. So my questions for you guys would be, you know, what do I need to do to monitor that? Am I financially responsible for monitoring the quality of my water when I'm not the one that's really impacting, you know, the quality of it? I'm not disturbing the land. If so, how often does that need done? You know, I'm looking for some guidance there. And then in terms of Steel Run, it's a high quality water stream, cold water. It's only one of two, I believe, that feed Turtle Creek. Prior to getting into medicine, I was a biologist. I did acid mine reclamation with local streams here in western Pennsylvania, ministry run primarily, which goes into Loyalhanna. I can tell you that anything that happens over there will adversely affect the quality of that water. I know there's requirements that the DEP has, but I think that needs to be taken into consideration. In terms of the traffic that they brought up, that will have a very detrimental impact on my family's quality of life and a quiet, peaceful environment. that we currently have. Probably put over 37,000 extra cars in front of my house. That's just if everybody has 2 cars and they make a trip to and from their house. So there'll be service vehicles. The park traffic is incredible. I'd be more than happy to video people speeding on that road if you guys would like to see. I mean, 60 miles an hour is not uncommon. It's a real shame, even in the morning when kids are getting on the school bus. So I think that needs to be addressed. That road is not suited. The shoulders are not safe. You know, I understand a traffic study wasn't even done for this. My understanding is there was just a review. I think a traffic study should be done with the amount of traffic that goes to the park, plus we're adding this. And if we're going to approve the, you know, major excavation, and the concern there isn't for Steele's Run, then I don't understand why you can't move that entrance and cross the stream again. We're already crossing it to get to his cul-de-sacs. So what's another bridge? And there's a mile or there's a half a mile of frontage on Westertown. He also has frontage on Hilty that could serve as an entrance to the plan. So I'm not quite sure why it has to be so close to the entrance, really to my front porch. I have a picture if you guys would like to see, just for those of you who haven't been out there, just to give you a little perspective of how much traffic will come in front of my house. So those are my concerns. I hope you guys can give some advice and maybe give me some direction.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sir. So just with noting that, Mike, Wes, you know, I know we don't want to respond to all of those right now. You know, I'm sure some of those are private property matters, but in terms of this conditional use hearing and what we want to put on the record, and again, this isn't for approval or denial. This is just the record of the hearing. Michael, Wes, is there anything you would want to put on the record in regards to that statement? Or would it simply be you'll follow up with the individual?
My only point would be, I think the applicant indicated that with regard to water supply, the developer is going to afford tie-ins to any affected property owners who would be adversely affected in some fashion. I think staff has already reviewed the testing analysis, and I think it's in our supporting documents. So I would just draw everybody's attention to those documents. As far as testing goes, of course, that's a private property matter, but anybody is always, for their self-assurance, able to do their own testing at their own expense, just so they have a baseline.
Okay. Okay.
But I think everything else from my review is in the supporting documents, have been addressed by staff, Mr. Morrison, KU, and Emily.
Okay, wonderful. So again, this isn't the final decision. I just wanted to see if there was anything else we wanted to put on there. With that being said, again, thanks for your comments, sir. Is there anyone else from the public here tonight that would like to give comment in regards to this project specifically? Okay, with that said, any closing remarks from council? Any closing remarks from the applicant?
I just wanted to clarify something. Wes, you were talking about the tie-in. They had said that that would be at the homeowner's cost, right? They're not going to pay for the tie-in for anybody that is adversely affected. For those people who aren't adversely affected, I could see them wanting to tie into the water on their own. But if somebody wanted to maintain their own well water and not tie in, but they become adversely affected, would they, I mean, I know this is a lot that I'm throwing at you, but that goes back to the private property matter?
I believe so,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah, I believe so. I understood the applicant to say that the appropriate easement locations would be afforded to anybody that would want to access the public water. As to whether or not they want to access the public water, that would be up to the property owner. MAWC, to the best of my knowledge, does not require mandatory tap-in. That's to the best of my knowledge. So I think other than that, it's a private property issue.
Okay. With that being noted by Wes, seeing nobody else giving comment, again, this is not a dispositive hearing. This was simply the public record for the conditional use. Seeing no hands, we're going to close this, let's say at about 7:30. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we're adjourned. Thank you, everyone. So now we will get into our regular public hearing, or excuse me, public meeting. Can I have a roll call, please, Verdale?
Mr. Olszewski. Mr. Dice.
Here.
Mr. McKenna. Mr. Stepanovich.
Here?
Mr. Lemak.
Here.
Mr. Diakopoulos.
Here.
Mrs. Ling.
Present.
Mayor Simon.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Mr. Nestico, any unlisted amendments this evening?
No unlisted amendments.
Awesome. Brings us to our consent calendar items. Were there any questions or concerns about the consent calendar items? Okay, hearing none, can I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve the consent calendar items.
Second.
Carl and Jamie, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you, everybody. That brings us to comments by the mayor.
Thanks, Mr. Dice. First up, EMS Week's here. May 19th to the 26th marks the 50th anniversary of EMS Week, which honors all EMS providers. Our Murraysville Medic One serves the communities of Murraysville, Export, Washington Township, and Upper Borough Township. Our crews are highly trained and dedicated to serving these communities 24/7, 365 days a year. I would like to take the time right now to thank them for their service to this community. We have one of the top EMS providers in the state of Pennsylvania, in my opinion. Next up, we have a dispose of personal documents safely at Jill Cooper's mobile shredding event Thursday, May 23rd, 4 to 6 p.m. It's at her Washington Township office, which is out there off of 66 near Pfeiffer Road. The free event is available specifically for personal documents and not commercial use. There's a limit of 2 bags or boxes. Books, magazines, metal binding other than staples cannot be shredded. They partnered with the Westmoreland Food Bank to merge this event with a food drive to help local families. Optional donations must be non-perishable and in non-glass containers. If you need any information, call 724-387-9113. We have another glass recycling pop-up collection event coming Saturday, June 15th at the Veterans Field here right next to the municipal building out in front of the Public Works from 9 to 2. Residents are also encouraged to support the Loaves and Fishes Emergency Food Pantry by donating non-perishable food items. Food Pantry volunteers donations during the same hours, and this is sponsored by the municipality and by Republic Services. Next, and very important for the children of our community, the splash pad at MCP will open May 25th. So you can be up there and cool off, especially with this weather. Last but not least, as we know, May 27th is Memorial Day coming up, and this year, like every year, the White Valley AMVETS, Delmont American Legion, Murraysville American Legion sponsor ceremonies. I'll run through the itinerary real quick for you in case you'd like to pick out one to attend. The 8 a.m. is at the Export Honor Roll. The 8:30 is at the Murraysville Cemetery. 9 a.m. is Hills Church Cemetery. 9:30 a.m. White Note that the parade, if you're going to watch it, forms on Old 22 by the Export Firemen's Social Hall, Donald William Penn up through the town of Export and stops at the Export Meadows. That's all my announcements. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mayor. That brings us to comments by the Chief Administrator. Michael?
Yes, just a few, as most in the community are aware, but just a reminder that School Road will have a closure near the intersection with Sardis that begins on June 3rd. It likely will not open until mid to late August. PennDOT is conducting the bridge replacement there. It was down to one lane last week. That may continue through June 3rd. So just for the community to be aware. Additionally, the Public Works Department has completed the tennis court rehabilitation project at Bear Hollow Park. Stopped by this week. It looks really nice. A lot of folks are out using it already. The tennis court in Kovalchik will also be redone as well. But that project is going to have to be put on pause at least until August as we begin a lot of the road projects taking place in the community. So they started the resurfacing. The court has a black topping on it, but they will pick back up in August and finalize that project and resurface the court entirely. So thanks to the Public Works Department for those projects. And then lastly, just as a community reminder, so to speak, we do have a lot of issues going on right now with solicitation in the community. Last year, we adopted the Do Not Knock list. We encourage folks that don't want to have folks knocking on their door to register and sign up for that list. They can do so on our website.
Thank you.
However, as a reminder, folks that are campaigning for political office or folks that are out in the community for nonprofit motives or volunteer groups, they are permitted to go door to door. It's a First Amendment issue. So whenever those folks are knocking on your door, unfortunately, there is no mechanism to prevent that. But the Do Not Knock list does serve to keep commercial vendors and other entities from knocking. We do have issues from time to time where folks are soliciting when they shouldn't be. So as much as the community doesn't want them at their door and sometimes quickly whisks them away, we do ask that if you are frustrated by that, want to report that, it's certainly helpful to us to know who is knocking on the door, whether you get the name of an individual or a company. That way we can confirm whether they do have an active solicitation permit. So again, just some of the things that are starting to pick up now that the weather is nicer and those groups are getting out into the community. So I guess just a kind of a public announcement, if you will. That's all for this month.
Oh, awesome. With the weather breaking, that's a great note. Thanks, Mike. With that being noted, we will now go to community input. Thank you. Okay, Mr. Wolf.
Ronald Wolf, 3644 Forbes Trail Drive. I'm back again about the sewer issue. Now, by their wisdom, FITSMA has been placing flow meters in manholes. And I talked to the DEP last week. They placed the flow meter for this sewer line at the head of the line. Now, why would you be measuring flow at the head of the line instead of down in my yard where it overflows routinely, and it just overflowed again at the beginning of the month? I'm getting sick of it. Nobody here has raw storage with feces in it flowing into their yards routinely. And the other thing is this Summer Hill development where they're talking about putting grinder pumps in there, is that going to be pumping water up over into this sewer line again too, with them 61 units they're planning to build up there?
These are questions for FTM.
It's in the newspaper tonight
Okay.
that they're going to be using grinder pumps over there. It doesn't say how many, and I'm sure that those people aren't aware of the fact that they got to pay for those grinder pumps and they got to maintain them because FITMA's not going to do it.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Yeah.
generally how we operate in Murraysville.
Yeah.
We say, the government, we put it on
But
the,
I would like to see somebody do something about this line out here. Now, there's a proposal that they want to put a big holding tank down somewhere near Logan's Ferry Road and Sardis. That's one of the proposals to catch the water and then release it into the source system at a slower rate.
I remember hearing about that at Delmont. I'm not sure if it's.
Well, somebody from council needs to be going up there and listening to what they're doing, because I talk to the DEP routinely. I spent 2 hours on the phone
Let me
with
say
them.
this, they're under a DEP consent order presently.
Yeah, I know they are.
Okay, so for
far, I don't think they're
DEP
answering
to say, oh yeah, we have a lot of issues with this, yep, that's a problem,
Yeah.
and then they don't do anything?
Well, the
DEP right now is the one who has the juice to say, hey, FITSMA, what's the issue, you know?
My point is, if they don't want to fix this line out here, get somebody and put somebody in there. You guys can change that board again.
And I agree
Put
with
somebody
that.
in there that'll do it.
We're gonna have a system that's worthy of Murraysville.
Yeah,
So, yeah, if you're having
should have.
problems, let us know, and I agree, whenever I first got on, it was nowhere near where it should have been.
Yeah.
They've come late years, but you're still having problems, so it's not good enough.
Yeah.
I understand.
The biggest joke of this was when Mr. Bruckner was in charge. They did nothing. They did absolutely nothing. From 72 until I moved into my house in 2008, my neighbor told me that she wrote numerous letters because when she first moved in there, when that plant opened up in 72, she had sewer issues right away. And that Heather Drive and Forbes Trail Drive, still spewing sewage into the storm drain that goes right into that creek. And it happens every time there's a heavy rain.
And that's on.
I have film of it many times. I could show you a lot of films. And the last overflow I had in my yard, it overflowed so bad that they had to come down to my neighbor's yard where he has a place set for their kids. He got 12 grandchildren that play there. They're young kids. And they had to come down and they replaced the mulch around the play area for his kids. And it's sad when you think about that.
The sewer system should not be doing that,
And-
yeah.
And my wife went online about that raw sewage spilling in there. It takes up to 15 weeks for that to be dissipated. And all I get out of FITSMA is a little bit of lime thrown in my yard. And the proper way to do that is scatter it out, rake it, and come back and clean it up. Zip, no way. That hasn't happened. Yeah.
I'll follow
I
up with
feel sorry for anybody that got to move into a house now that's going to have a grinder pump in it because they're going to be paying maintenance bills on it forever. And that environmental one pump that they put in, that they require you to put in, the guy that services that thing, no matter where he's at, it's $90 an hour until he gets to your house. And the bill comes for changing the pump. Yeah, it's an interesting deal.
We'll have to make sure that's the first I'm hearing about that. We'll have to make sure we note that too and follow up with
Yeah,
TMSA.
That's the truth.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I had to go to court over it. Yeah,
Okay, I'll follow up with them, sir.
and there'll be many more days I go to court with them.
Hey,
If it
absolutely.
keeps up.
That's your right, sir. Absolutely. Yep, all right.
Okay, thanks for your time.
Thank you,
I
Mr.
appreciate
Wolf.
it.
Yep,
I'm getting old and tired.
rightfully so. Hey,
Have a good night, everybody.
thank you. Okay, that brings us to Mike Tokus. Okay. Mr. Jeff Silvas? Yep, please, sir. Just state your name and address for the record. Yep.
Jeff Silvas, 4087 Golden Mile Highway. So it's my first time ever at a meeting like this, so sorry if I'm not sure how to go about it. But
Just, sir, just, you know, as you can see, there's, no, yeah, fire away.
bad choice of words.
Yeah.
No, but anyway, you may recognize my name.
Yes, sir. Yep.
Because I've spoken with you a couple times.
Yep.
And I hate to say it, but I have a certain a level of frustration because I've been dealing with this issue with the intersection in front of my house. I live at 380 and 286 at that intersection where they're putting in the light, the temporary light. Back in January, beginning of January, I had a representative from Olympus Oil contact me, and he said, I know this is really short notice, which I personally think was by design to kind of bum rush us, saying that they're going to put you, he's telling me, I'm just giving you his words. I'm informed by him, Murraysville is going to put in a new intersection there. And in his words, like it or not, it's going to happen. That to me is fighting words. So I got a lawyer. I retained a lawyer because it was getting ridiculous. They want part of our driveway, they want part of our property to do this intersection. Now, this representative is telling me in many conversations that we should take their deal, a deal with them, because they could give us a better deal than Murraysville will give us. And he's telling me that Murraysville is forcing the oil company to change part of the intersection to use them as a cash cow. I mean, this is his words. And so, you know, my dad built that house in 1958. My mom lives there. She's 95 years old. She's been there almost 70 years. I'm representing my mom. I'm running interference for her because she can't do this. And this is causing a lot of stress on my mom. And she doesn't need this. So there's a few things I wrote out here. So sorry if it's a little bit scattered because, again, I never did anything like this, but I just wanted to kind of get a few points across just so that you guys, you'll get the point of what my frustration is and what I'm trying to do here. First of all, the traffic light, my lawyer, and talking with my lawyer, we need to know what kind of light, what kind of intersection is going to be going in there because I've reached out to Murraysville, and I'm not trying to throw shade at you, but I've talked to you a few times, and you told me the last conversation we had, you weren't sure if you could continue talking to me because you represent.
And this is where, actually, I just want to jump in right here to say, Michael, Wes, are we aware of anything we're doing with Penteco whereby we are saying we demand you put in a light? Because the last I talked about this, because I brought this to staff, and what they said was, we as a municipality, we're not involved in this, and we don't want to be involved because we don't want either party saying we put pressure on anybody. So for this Penteco representative to say that is pretty asinine.
I think it's Olympus Oil.
Whoever it is.
Olympus, yeah.
So let me ask you this, Wes, Michael, anybody else at staff, what's going on? I know it's off the top of your head, but I mean, geez, oh man.
I'm going to take it? Yeah. I can do that. So this is relating to the gas well that's nearby. Correct, yeah, and this is a project through Olympus. So the traffic light is an installation as part of that project. Olympus is going to be putting in that traffic light, which the municipality would then own and maintain thereafter. Right now, I believe the temporary signal is up and running.
It's not running yet.
Okay.
They're working on it.
They're working on it. I know it's kind of due any day now, but they got the PennDOT approvals for that. The difficulty that they've encountered is that, as Mr. Silvas mentioned, his driveway and entranceway to his property is being impacted by this traffic signal installation. There is a portion of the driveway that, because of its slope, would have to be, they would have to acquire a little bit more property going into his property.
It's going to make it steeper.
And it's going to make it steeper. And so that's part of the concern from their standpoint. The proposed signal is a continuous T, I believe they call it, if you're familiar with the intersection off of the Donegal Turnpike exit where traffic continues to flow on the outside lane, but the inside lanes are turning. That's probably as best as I could describe it without going into detail or pulling up an image, but that's what they are proposing there, that the outside lane on 380, and I can pull the map up maybe to just give a little bit perspective as well. Mike, if you can add this up to the screen. So on Google Maps, this, I believe, would be your driveway here. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and so what they're proposing is a continuous lane of traffic along this side of the roadway, and then the traffic signal would then direct traffic in and out of the intersection here. And so, again, by nature of the way that the light has to be installed, they would have to come in here and acquire part of the land here, making the driveway steeper and cutting into his property. What I can say is that through this project, which has been discussed for a brief period now, Olympus had asked us to reach out to the property owner, being the municipality. We sent out letters, which we didn't receive a response to. At that point, we got back to Olympus and explained that, look, we haven't been able to make contact with the property owner, and being that this is all part of their permit process and approval process.
Not just through us, but also through all of the other bodies, correct? Because we have a very minimal role in this. I mean, this is DEP. They have to go through the EPA. Okay, but go on, sorry.
Well, and primarily PennDOT.
Yeah.
And so in order for Olympus to get approval, they have to, of course, work with the various property owners whose property is impacted. In this case, I think that's when Olympus, when we got back to Olympus and said, look, you're going to have to try to find a way to get in touch with the property owner and negotiate with them. We haven't had success with the letters we mailed out, and ultimately this is your project. And I think that's whenever, as Mr. Silvas mentioned, then I guess they started to reach out and touch base with him. What was said during those conversations, certainly I'm not privy to and I don't know.
And obviously 380 and 286 are both state roads, correct? Yeah. Stating the absolute obvious. Yeah. So it would seem to me, and just so you know, where it was left with me was, we the municipality, I guess we took it on initially to try to make contact, but afterwards it was, hey Dane, don't get involved. This is between two private property owners, Mr. Silvas and the oil and gas company. And that's where we left it. So do we want to change that stance? Should we have a dialogue, or should we say this is between Mr. Silvas and the oil and gas company?
It's my opinion that we leave it with Olympus Energy and the property owner.
Because that was why we did not get involved. So I know I've been talking a lot for your comment, so whatever you want to say, sir, but that's our position. So if anyone comes to you and says Murraysville is in any way putting pressure on you, we're all on the same page. That is NO, right?
That's correct. And I think, again, just to maybe provide a little bit of context, when Olympus received approvals for the well pad operations, whichever phase it may be, they still had to install this light before they could commence certain parts of the operation. And so I think they are at that phase now where they are kind of up against the clock, because they were proceeding with either the expectation or the belief that they would accomplish this maybe a little bit quicker than they did.
And so that's on them.
And certainly it is. But again, just painting that full picture as to why things accelerated so quickly. So I think Olympus was proceeding with a belief that maybe they would accomplish the aspects of this project a little bit quicker than it transpired. Now, from a private standpoint, from a drilling and operations standpoint, I think they are ready to move forward, and so now they're kind of under the gun to tackle these outstanding items and get the light installed. And in conjunction with that, PennDOT is a big component of that, because PennDOT is requiring a certain type of intersection, and it's certainly an elaborate project as far as the permanent light goes. And so now they worked on getting approval for the temporary signal so that they could begin their operations, and then again flush out the more permanent side of the project. So it's something that the municipality's been working with Olympus to try to move things forward, but we only have so much. We only have such a role in the project.
Yeah, exactly. We have our own defined role, but right now what we're talking about is a traffic light on state roads. So to a certain extent, that's between, I mean, to show you how far we are down the line, I view it as between you, the oil and gas company, and then PennDOT. We're even further down the line. I mean, they're putting a light on PennDOT roads, so, and that's why, again, you know, I'm sorry if, you know, we didn't have that robust dialogue, but the thought process was this is a private property matter. I had no idea. I'm sorry that I didn't know they were saying that to you. No one should be saying that to you. That's untrue.
So for clarity, okay, again, this is what he's telling me in several conversations. He's telling me that, and he's using the term Murraysville. He's saying Murraysville is using Olympus as a cash cow to finance part of that intersection change.
It's not even our intersection.
He said after they're done, he says Murraysville is going to come in and change it whether we like it or not. That's going to happen.
Well, I think,
And then I have other issues regarding that intersection, why I think it's a bad idea, but.
in the simplest terms, I think to just address that, the light was warranted for their operations. So that's why that's why they are responsible and required to put in the light. To satisfy their operational needs. So it will become Murraysville's light, and we will maintain it just like we do all the other traffic signals when it's installed or when it's finalized. But the need for the light was warranted through the approval process.
And I agree with that, because again, we do have a say in the approval process. To the extent anyone would say we are in any way putting pressure into this equation is totally wrong. This is between two parties, you know, you and Olympus, 50-50, just so we're on the same page about that. Yep.
Did they say any, the aspect of a cash cow, did they elaborate at all?
No, he just said that several times in different conversations.
I don't see how.
Because he's trying to get us to take a deal with them, because he's telling me, hey, we'll give you a better deal than Murraysville will give you. Those are his words.
That's just wrong. I don't even know what he's talking about, so just so we're on the same page.
For clarity, who is in charge of the intersection change? Is it Murraysville or is it PennDOT?
Michael, I mean, ultimately, it sounds to me like it is PennDOT, but then we eventually take it over after the fact, right?
That's right. Olympus is responsible for the installation. It's warranted through their operations. PennDOT reviews their application, the entire signal process and application. And then, again, once it's completed, then that light gets turned over to the municipality for ownership and maintenance.
Yeah, so
thereafter.
per usual, we have the least amount of say in what's going on, but we'll eventually have to end up paying for it. But again, in terms of how that impacts you, sir, anyone, whether it's you or this person from the oil and gas company saying there's some pressure being applied, not from us.
Okay. So, again, just so I understand, it's PennDOT that's in charge of this whole
The installation,
restructuring of
correct.
the intersection.
Their road.
It's their road, okay.
Their road. So, and like when they designed the new highway here through Murraysville, all those intersections and everything they laid out, the jug handles, was designed by their engineers. That's what they decided to put in this community.
Okay. I do need some information then. So when they were initially starting to, or actually before they put the lights in, again, my lawyer had been in touch with some people on their end, and next thing you know, I come home one day and there's stakes all over the bottom of our yard down below there. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. It feels like we're getting railroaded is what it feels like. And so on our property, I removed the stakes. I'm like, that's not happening because I had to cut the grass anyways. So then they painted some stuff, and then I came home one day and they were blocking the driveway. They were putting up a pole for this temporary light. And I stopped and talked to one of the guys, and he's like, hey, I just work here. I don't know what to tell you. I said, well, you're on our property. And he says, well, our supervisor, I got his name somewhere here. He left. He'll be back. I said, well, and I called him later. I called his supervisor later, and he told me that there's a guy named Jim who's in charge of the project, the intersection project from PennDOT. I asked him to give me contact information, give me a last name, give me something, and I followed up with him, but he won't return my calls. So I'm just trying to find out, who do I talk to at PennDOT? Who does my lawyer talk to at PennDOT?
That's PennDOT.
I would say one thing is that, that perhaps your state representative
Yeah.
could help you in that.
Jill Cooper?
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I contacted her, and she's the one that directed me to Dane.
Yeah, and again, it's
So I keep getting sent around in
Can I
circles.
tell you the issue again? Because it's a private property matter. So if somebody is on, you just, again, this is off the cuff, talk to your attorney. My position would be if I own property and random people were on it who I didn't say could be there, I'd say you're trespassing.
That's what I told
That's what I would say. But again, Murraysville can't do it, and PennDOT, that's PennDOT. People in Murraysville, no, people not in Murraysville, but in other places will say, we're the municipality and we can't get called back from PennDOT. So for you and your private property, it would be, hey Olympus, hey PennDOT, this is my private property, you're gonna negotiate with me, Mr. Silvis. That's what I would do. And I think you should talk to your attorney about that, but again, what we're trying to do is stay out of it. And I guess the state, to the extent they're staying out of it, is, I don't know, because we don't represent them, so I don't want to speculate.
Again, if I may, I'm happy to get Mr. Silvis's contact.
Yeah, let's do it that
information.
way, yeah.
Maybe I can help then facilitate what you're looking for is the communication piece between either Olympus or PennDOT or whoever it may be, and then your attorney can reach out to them. I'm happy to do that. And again, because as much as
Yeah.
any help on like getting whoever this Jim guy is at PennDOT, his information, that would be helpful.
Yeah, please exchange information before you leave. Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
So can I go on?
We're getting pretty lengthy, but if you want to say a few more things, let's do it. Yep.
Okay, appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
So in regards to the intersection itself, okay, I've lived there most of my life. I did move away for a long time. I moved back here 3 years ago to help out with my mom. She's 95. She's doing pretty good. She has had to have an ambulance come in the last 2 years, 3 years, maybe twice or something like that. This, I was told that it was a green tea intersection that they were proposing to put in. Horrible idea. I looked it up. It's on YouTube. It essentially blocks us in. We can't get in and out unless we go way down the road to turn around and come all the way back up, or if we want to go left. And if we are coming up the hill, if we want to get in our driveway, we have to go way up the road, turn around, and come back. Not only is that a huge inconvenience for us, but if we need an ambulance, minutes count. That's my big concern. If an ambulance is going to try and get to our house and they got to do a big long detour around just because of this intersection, that could cost my mom's life.
And I think that is extremely relevant to bring up whenever you're talking about the installation of this intersection.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And the other points I just want to make real quick. I have gone to the Murraysville Police 8 times, I count them, 8 times last year, and asked them to slow the traffic down. It's a raceway. It is an absolute Audubon raceway. And every time I came here, talked to, was it a lieutenant or a captain, I don't know who it was. He came out, he said, yes, we know it's a problem. I'm going to get somebody out there to paint lines and we're going to patrol it. Never happened. I've talked to 8 times. And they all acknowledged it's a problem. The speeding down that highway is a problem. And they won't do anything about it. They won't patrol it. They won't come out. They're not there.
Have the lines been removed? Because the lines were there for years.
No, he was going to paint speeding lines.
Well, they were there for years. Have they just worn off and they need repainted?
I haven't
They were
seen
down lower from you. They weren't right where you are. They were down lower on the
I
hill.
haven't seen him in ages.
Okay, well, I'll look into that.
Yeah, because
Appreciate that.
it's good that they're painted, but I have to say, the issue is, again, Murraysville is a huge municipality, and we get this all the time, is sadly, yeah, there's a lot of places we wish we could patrol a lot harder. And we get requests like this all the time from all over the municipality. And, you know, the question becomes, what do we do? Double the police force? Because that's what it would take. Because if the police aren't there in a car, people see them, people are getting pulled over, then it just doesn't take. I've seen the municipality do, forget what they call them, they essentially say, we're going to hyper-focus on this area. It barely makes a dent after the police are gone. So I don't know, you know, to an extent what to say, but to say, I mean, we'll patrol everywhere. That's the mayor's purview. I'm just kind of speaking from what I've seen being here for a while.
Well, assuming that this intersection changes due to the speeding and the accidents on the hill, again, because we've lived there our whole lives, there's less accidents at our intersection, hardly any, compared to what's down at the auction barn. The auction
I'm
barn
very
is,
aware of that.
the auction barn is the issue, not our intersection. And so the thing is just the other day, last week, I'm sure you're all aware, there's an accident. A young girl is doing 85 miles an hour coming up the hill and T-bones an old lady coming out of the auction barn. The problem is down the hill, and it's the speed. It's not the intersection. When they had the original lines, you know, the two-way going down from there, that was still up on the map. People that live there, they know how to negotiate that. And then last year or earlier this year, they painted those lines to block people from taking the inside lane, which is
I
huge
immediately asked them to remove them.
Thank you, because that was a disaster.
Right, and they did.
And even now, the way it is, it's better, but it's still, people are still confused because they don't know that they can still take that inside lane
Inside lane.
partway down.
Important, it works.
Yeah, a little bit, but not really, because the horns are just going off like crazy right now. And so the way it was originally was fine. It doesn't need to be changed. And the last point I wanted to make and why this is a bad idea, in the wintertime, traffic coming up that hill has a hard time getting up the hill. You put a red light there, traffic is never going to get going again, especially for tractor trailers and trucks. They come up to a light, they'll never get going again in the icy roads. I shovel that driveway every winter, and I know we've had some mild winters, but this last winter, I was at the bottom of the driveway shoveling, and this car came over the hill under the bridge, and they hit the brakes, and they lost control and went all the way across to the upcoming lanes. Fortunately, there's nobody coming. They couldn't get stopped. They shot down the hill. Unfortunately, there was an ambulance that just happened to be coming by, and they trailed the out-of-control car down the wrong way so they could put the lights on and guide them down to the auction barn and get them across. My point is that hill is icy and slippery. You put a light in, it's going to create way more issues.
Okay.
So, anyway,
Thank you, sir.
yeah.
Yep, very good. Thank you. So we'll follow up, Michael, and we'll take it from there. Okay.
Thank you for your time.
No, absolutely. Thank you. Yep. So that being said, we will now move on to liaison comments and committee reports. Jason, you want to start?
Yeah, I had a business meeting last week during
Okay.
the library meeting. I missed it.
Okay, awesome. Carl?
There was a meeting of the Parks and Recreation Foundation. The members, myself included, attended a health fair. It was interesting and maybe not continually the best use of our time. We staffed it well, and we had a nice tent, so that's something to think about. Officer nominations for the foundation, pardon me, it was decided that this would be due after we have the other additional board seats filled, and we're waiting for that. Bylaw revisions, and I'm not quite sure here, it's been agreed we will revise the bylaws to allow additional board members. And basically also the final thing there is that DJ Capizzuto has been approved, and we notified that he will be a member of the board. My throat's a little bad, I apologize. There was a meeting of the Medic One. It was a short meeting this past Thursday, and I could summarize it here saying that the billing issues are continuing. Now, Medic One has taken the position that they have given notice that there will be a new billing company, but right now they're still having to do with the problems with their current billing company. Subscriptions are coming in, a little less than it was last year, but they are coming in. And that's it on the Medic One.
Awesome. Thank you. Jamie?
Okay, since we didn't have our meeting on the first Wednesday, I have two planning commission meetings to report on. First one was 4:30. The CU 1-24, the Castiglione LLC major excavation and steep slope disturbance was recommended for approval and forwarded to council, which is what we had the public hearing on tonight. S1023, the subdivision application, and SP723, the major development application by Castiglione, were both recommended for approval and forwarded to council, subject to 14 recommendations outlined in the staff meeting. Discussion concerning the study of the zoning requirements of the general business overlay district was held. The map is being revised and the overlay redrafted with definitions being separated for ease of understanding and will be re-presented at the June meeting. The meeting on 5/14/24 was a short one. There was one item, the Summerhill Phase 2, SP 523 was discussed. There were several residents of the current development Phase 1 present with concerns. The item will be brought back when some legal questions are cleared up. That's all I have.
Okay, awesome, thank you. Okay, the pension plan had a report out on Thursday, May 9th. Reviewed the overall market performance of the pension fund. So for Q1, very strong overall market performance. Of course, April gave back some of those gains, and then May is taking back those gains again. So, but for Q1, 4% growth and a full trailing year of 14.2% growth. So very good performance. The pension fund's sitting at $30.5 million as a result of that growth minus any qualified distributions. And there were two actions in the meeting. Chris Brokaw took an action to create a portfolio watch list and present it at the next meeting in August. Objective is to have a target watch list should the committee decide to transition from one lower performing fund to one that is projected to have higher performance. And the second one was for JC to review the pension committee bylaws on the number of community volunteers that can be on the committee. This action is resulting from a discussion in the meeting about having a succession plan for the longtime committee members of Larry Schultz and Mark Miller. No specific timelines were discussed.
Okay, awesome. No, those are great ideas too. Yeah, with guys like that who've been there for forever, retiring, so awesome. Okay, moving on, that'll bring us to our workshop item, which is a discussion regarding the old William Penn Bridge repair and detour. Michael, do you want to just give us an update?
Sure, yes. So, make sure my mic's on. This is the bridge repair project that's on Old William Penn near Griff's Ice Cream. I can show you on the map. I'm sure we're somewhat loosely familiar. We talked about this. This is the bridge that the load rating has been reduced in recent months, and a repair is necessary. Why it's a topic of discussion for tonight's meeting is to get feedback from council regarding the proposed detour for this project and approval on which type of detour or which type of project timeline we want to commit to. So I'll go over the details with you. I'm going to pull the map over so you can kind of see the detour route that was proposed by Gibson Thomas Engineering. And I apologize if it's compacted there on the screen, but it should be able to show you what we're looking at. Mike, if you could pull this up on the council screen as well. Thank you. So the bridge is on Old William Penn's, near Ginny's neighborhood restaurant here on the map. With the bridge being closed, the proposed detour is going to be Klein Hollow to Hills Church Road, the 2.4 mile detour, 4 minutes. I'm sure most of the community is familiar with those roadways. The question at hand is, with that detour in place, the repair, we talked about doing a carbon fiber replacement. Gibson Thomas went back to the drawing board and said, you know what, instead of doing that, we're going to replace the deck of the bridge with concrete. That will help keep the water off of the beams. It will increase the load rating, and it will also avoid the permitting process that we would have to go through by doing the other alternative we discussed, the carbon fiber, and that's because they won't have to go down into the stream and disrupt any of the stream or impact the ecosystem there. And so with that, with the new alternative, they expressed that the project would take 45 days to complete if they did a full closure of the bridge, meaning both lanes, each direction, this detour. The alternative to that is to do a one-lane detour, which would double the project length to 90 days, 3 months. With the one-lane closure, half-width closure, it would increase construction costs as well because there would have to be a temporary signal put in place, and it would be a phased detour, and there's some other items as well that come along with that. So the decision at hand, really, knowing that this is the detour in place, is whether we would be agreeable to doing either a 45-day full lane, double lane closure and having all traffic detoured for the 45 days, or go with the one lane closure, some increased costs, and keeping half of the bridge open, thereby avoiding this detour for some of the vehicle traffic. So again, I thought it would be prudent to come to council with that decision to get some feedback. The project would, they're going through the permitting process now. They think that it would probably kick off sometime in the next roughly in about 2 months. So you're looking at either the 45 to the 90-day window at that time. Again, at that time, school would be back in session, vehicle traffic, things like that. So it's just really a decision of whether you want a 1.5 month full closure or whether you want to have 3 months of the partial lane closure and some increased costs. I think that I would recommend that we do the full closure, pull the Band-Aid off, and just get the project completed. That would make the most sense for a number of reasons, including limiting costs, getting the project finalized, but also if there are any issues in the meantime. Again, I think that with the full closure, the construction companies would probably be able to adapt and resolve any issues easier if they have full access to the bridge, as opposed to the half lane closure and directing traffic, temporary signals, things like that. But I will say positives, as we know, are once this resurfacing concrete overlay is completed, it will allow us to get that bridge load rating back up to where it was a couple months ago and get some of the heavier truck traffic and the vehicle traffic across there. It won't be a full restoration, so we won't be back up to the full 25 tons, but I think it'll be a 16-ton load rating at that point, and that's kind of where we were just a few months ago. So
Council, we have a recommendation from staff for 45 days. Granted, that's the full closure, but it also gets it done faster and it's cheaper. Questions, concerns, now's the time to ask. I mean, this isn't a final vote.
What do you have the dollar amount increase if it were to be the one lane or a percentage?
I don't have that, no. I apologize. I just got the information back from the engineer on yesterday regarding the timelines, and I didn't get the feedback on what the increased cost would be. But assuming that they're renting a temporary signal and doing a phased detour and having flagging or other things going on there, I can't say it would be substantial, but I'm sure that it's going to be at least significantly more than the full closure.
I think either way it's going to be an inconvenience. I think we should just close it fully and get it done and have it be over before the bad weather hits.
I would opt for the one lane, actually.
Well, I think we should discuss that. What are the restaurants and the businesses near there? Have we talked to them?
No, I haven't gotten any feedback from local businesses. They're impacted by it right now with the existing load rating decrease because certain traffic can't get across there to begin with, or at least shouldn't be. Heavy truck traffic will be detoured during this project. PennDOT, we're waiting for PennDOT approval on that. Again, but once we can get that load rating increased, then that significant detour for the heavier traffic will go away as well. So that's again, part of the reason why we want to try to accelerate things and get the project, and get the bridge back up to a higher load rating. But no, to answer your question, we haven't spoken with many of the businesses there, so I don't have their feedback to present.
I'd be for the full closure, as long as it doesn't. I think Klein Hollow is up for resurfacing, as long as those don't coincide.
Certainly, we would make sure that that does not occur. And again, the engineers examined Klein Hollow and Hills Church. They indicated that both roads have sufficient widths to handle the detour. And again, it's only a 2.5 mile detour, so it's not too substantial. And I would say that most folks in the community are familiar with other ways to get around that area if they have to go traveling in and out of that zone of the community.
I think the busing is already adjusted due to the weight restrictions. They're already using Klein Hollow quite frequently.
That's right, and those are the heavier vehicles that are now impacted by this and have a different detour in place. But once we get the load rating up, then vehicles like that may be able, again, certain vehicles will be able to cross up to 16 tons. So that's kind of the situation.
I think there's arguments, obviously there's arguments, at least, well, there's one saying for the single lane, sounds like me, but I don't know if safety is an issue there. I do think that, and not to make a long story of it, but we're going to have Sardis Road where it hits, not Sardis, but School Road. That'll be closed. And if we have this closed, then there's going to be an undercurrent of opinion that if you want to go to where roads are closed, go to Murraysville, and try to get around to Murraysville. But my argument's not particularly strong. So
sure, and I think we can obviously try to do damage control on some of that feedback. Both of these situations are due to compromised bridges that have reduced load ratings and safety issues. So, whereas other communities, unlike other communities, I think, it's important to note that we are addressing those issues. We want to make sure that the community is safe to navigate. So certainly we can, express that to any community members that are frustrated by some of the repairs and the construction that's going on.
Okay. Well, that bridge then, sorry if I'm ignorant, that supports the fire, the emergency vehicles then at 16 tons?
I can't say that I know that answer. There may be certain emergency vehicles. I would imagine some are over that.
They're not using it now unless it's a crisis.
Okay.
right, that would make sense. Yeah.
If it was one lane, would there be like a light to allow traffic to use that one lane, or is
Yes,
it just?
That's where the increased costs come in. They would put a temporary signal in, and it would be on both sides, so it would stop traffic on one direction, allowing it to come from the other, and vice versa. So it would be a single lane closure with a temporary signal that would let traffic in and out, from either direction.
Am I calculating wrong? You said roughly 2 months it's going to start, right? Just roughly.
That's,
So
I
let's say
believe that's
that's
correct.
July the 1st. If we do full closure,
Well,
by the time school starts, it'll be done.
You know what, I guess I'm
End of
mistaken.
July, we're almost at the end of May.
Yeah, I think it's around late August, mid to late August, so I apologize.
It's going to be closer than having it 45 more days into the school year.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, and again, some of that is dependent upon final approvals, design work, things like that.
Right.
I think that the estimate they gave us was around mid-August. So when I say 2 months, I guess I'm mistaken there.
Yeah.
It was around mid-August, so it's going to kind of go directly into the school year.
Okay.
And the idea, again, from a staffing standpoint, the recommendation was to try to minimize that and just get it done and move along. And again, for those, that 45-day window, it is a disruption, there's no doubt, but
School buses cannot already travel. that
correct.
bridge.
They're already going a different route, even with the current load rating in place. So they're already inconvenienced, heavy truck traffic, things like that. And that will have to continue regardless. Even on the one-lane closure, those vehicles still will have to go around. So that's already in place. This is more along the lines for, regular commuter vehicle traffic, things like that.
Okay. Any Questions or concerns? We're all right with telling staff to proceed as they had planned? Okay, awesome. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
That brings us to our action items. We'll begin with 13A. Can I have a motion, please?
I'd like to make a motion to advertise ordinance number 1086-24, amending salary ordinance number 1081-23, establishing the compensation and salary ranges of employees of the municipality of Murraysville for fiscal year 2024.
Second the motion?
So Jason and Carl. Again, this is just the advertisement, but Michael, anything you want to brief us on?
Just briefly, so that council is aware and the community as well, staff is asking to amend the salary ordinance for three reasons. First, the salary ordinance needs to be updated reflecting the most recent police CBA agreement. The rates of pay are not reflected in the salary ordinance currently because that was adopted in December and the CBA was ratified shortly thereafter. So that's more of a procedural item. Secondly, the finance department is considering bringing on another employee, another staffer. Currently, we have one fiscal assistant. They would like to consider bringing on a second fiscal assistant, a position that was previously filled in the municipality. We've gone a period of time without a second fiscal assistant. However, due to some of the volume and the workload there, certainly that filling that position would be a benefit to the finance department. Additionally, the current fiscal assistant is nearing retirement eligibility, and so we'd like to also make sure that we have a succession plan in place, someone that has familiarity with the system, accounts payable and receivable, payroll, things like that. And so we'd like to cross-train that employee now in advance of any potential retirement. And then lastly, a facilities worker position. The current salary ordinance as adopted does not account for that position, and that is because, much of that work has been performed by an outside contractor for cleaning and maintenance services around the different facilities in the municipality. We're examining the costs of that, and we want to, again, be prudent with the way we're spending money and the efforts that we're getting from that staff or that employee. We think that it may be best if it's handled internally. Again, that was a position that previously was held in the municipality, but when they went to the outside contractor to do cleaning and maintenance services, that we got rid of the internal employee. It's looking like as the costs increase year over year, it's going to be more prudent to bring that back in-house. We would get more hours, more bang for our buck, essentially. And so we want to explore that possibility as well. So the salary ordinance amendment would account for those three changes to consider those three different matters that are factored in there. So that's what you're looking at with this amendment.
Awesome. Michael, is the idea with an additional, financial assistant, if you will, looking at one retiring, would that position be filled by, we would hire a new person who would be cross-trained, if you will. But when the person retires, are we going to then consider getting another financial assistant? Are we going to end up with two or one?
Well, I would say that that's part of why we'd like to make this hire now. Evaluate what that employee brings to the table, whether they have the capability of handling some of those responsibilities on their own, or whether we do need to have a two-person staff there in the finance department, or two fiscal assistants, I should say. I would say that based on my observation over the last couple years, it would make sense to have two employees permanently in that capacity. Not only to handle the volume of the financial work that needs to be done, but also from an HR standpoint, some of those things are being pushed onto the finance director, which is fine, but then it's inhibiting some of her ability to process and do the reporting, working with the auditors. And so I think there's a little bit of a backlog there by only having a two-person staff total. And I think that adding this additional person, bringing three total people into the finance department, probably would be a long-term solution in that department, but that's something we would evaluate after we bring that employee in, seeing what they bring to the table and how quickly they pick up on things and how much capacity they have.
I just, and not to belabor the point, but I'm just thinking with a new software system, ostensibly that's going to make the current staff more productive.
Would
So I guess time will tell.
Sure.
I'll stop there.
That's right.
Is this only a change in the quantity of employees, not the salary ranges?
That's right. Not the salary ranges, only the employee themselves, because they're both listed as 0. Well, the fiscal assistant is listed as 1, because that's what we have, and then the facilities worker is listed as 0. So again, this would allow us to then bring somebody into the range that you would see in the salary ordinance.
Okay, so again, this is just the advertisement. Any final questions or concerns before we advertise? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thanks, everybody. Can I have a motion for 13B, please?
Motion to accept the resignation of Gregory Hamill from the Murraysville Zoning Hearing Board, said term to expire December 31st, 2028.
Thank you, Jamie and Eli. Pretty self-explanatory. Let's just make sure that we get Mr. Hamill a thank you letter for his service.
Certainly.
Any other questions or concerns? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you. Can I have a motion for 13C, please?
Motion to accept the resignation of Scott Kelsey from Parks and Recreation Commission, said term to expire December 31st, 2024.
Second.
Thank you, Carl and Jamie. Again, let's just make sure to thank Mr. Kelsey for his service. Any other questions or concerns? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, 13C is unanimous as well. Can I have a motion for 13D?
Motion to advertise ordinance number 1087-24, vacating an unopened or abandoned portion of Carolina Street.
Thank you, Jamie and Eli. Michael, you want to explain to us?
Sure. This portion of Carolina Street is located in the White Valley area just next to Wilson Road. It appears to be a roadway that has never been opened by the municipality. Currently has trees, improvements, driveways, things like that, where the roadway should be. We're looking to vacate that portion of the street. I think the adjacent property owners may have an interest in acquiring that. Certainly they would have to go through a private legal process to do so, but the first mechanism in order to allow that is for the municipality to vacate the roadway. I can certainly pull up the map if you'd like to get a look of what this area looks like, but staff is recommending vacating this and allowing the property owners to take matters in their own hands from a private standpoint to.
Yeah, and I can say too, Carolina Street, I mean, that's a street that's been there for a while, so if it hasn't been used yet by a municipality, it's not going to be used by a municipality. So just putting that out there. Any questions or concerns for staff?
Who's currently maintaining that? I mean, us? I mean, it looks from the picture I have here like it's overgrown a little bit, and that there's more than just one property that's going to be affected by the vacating it.
That's right. And I can pull the image up.
Because it crosses the street. So if we only have one property owner that's interested in a portion of it, what about the other portion? Are there other interested parties in taking that over? And what happens to the maintenance of that? Who does that fall upon if we vacate it?
If it is vacated, the municipality no longer has responsibility over it. And again, we don't have we don't maintain it now. If Mike, you can put the image up on the board here. This is where you're looking at. Carolina Street would be actually running through here. So as you can see, the municipality does not utilize that roadway or this portion of Carolina Street. It connects up higher, and that's where Carolina Street is actually
okay, so it doesn't even look like a street.
So, and it would be, and I would maybe defer to the solicitor. He could certainly provide feedback, but this would become then a private matter, an action to quiet title that an individual property owner or multiple property owners could engage in that would not involve the municipality. It would be them going to the courts and requesting title to the property. It overlaps with the plan of homes and how many property owners there are in the overall plan and whether they want to object or have a say-so in the matter. But again, the municipality would be removed from any involvement in that by vacating the roadway. And that's, I guess, why I'm asking council today, or staff is asking council to take action on this item. That way it removes us from the scenario, and the property owners, the private property owners can do as they wish moving forward through the court system.
Yeah, that picture looks very different than the overhead picture that we were given in our briefing. The overhead
Sorry.
picture makes it look like it's wide and kind of, but that makes it look like it's more just part of the geography.
Yeah, this may be, this would be the overhead here. It's hard to tell, but that's where it would come up through here. And again, you can see Carolina Street is improved beginning at Delaware and going uphill. So this would be vacated, and then again, those property owners can then do as they wish through the courts to attempt to acquire title. But as you can see, they're in some ways utilizing that property already because it has not been accepted or improved by the municipality.
Yeah, in actuality, we're not giving up, in my opinion, any rights here, because if this alley was never opened and maintained by the municipality, we lost the right to do that 21 years after the plan was laid out.
This is where you hear the term paper street.
That's what they mean by a paper street or a paper alley. But, so I don't really think that we're giving up any rights here, because I think we lost them a long time ago. However, there is a private property right issue here with other people that own lots in that same plan. And we can't interfere with those. We can only relinquish our rights.
Yeah, we're essentially removing ourselves from any issues.
That's correct.
That being said, any questions or concerns? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you, everybody. That brings us to 13E. Can I have a motion?
Motion to advertise ordinance number 1088-24, vacating an unopened and abandoned portion of Carson Avenue.
Second.
Thank you, Carl and Jason. Michael, I'm guessing this is very similar.
Similar, yes. Carson Avenue is located near the community center. And again, Mike, if you could pull the map up, you'll see located here. Folks are using it for parking, but it is blocked off from access to Route 22, so I can do the street level view so I apologize, just to give you an idea of what we're looking at. So Carson, you can't access Route 22. It is blocked off. Folks may be able, I guess, to cut through this private drive here, which certainly we would not encourage or want to see. So this is the area of roadway that would be vacated, and yet again, then the private property owners in that area can do, as I just described, going through the courts to attempt to secure title to the property. The solicitor may have additional feedback on this item because I think there is another alleyway, a 20-foot alleyway just near there. Which may be included in this vacation as well. Wes, I don't know, is that?
Yeah, can you bring,
I can slide
okay,
down.
right there.
Yep. And that would
Between, this is the eye doctor building
Yeah.
and New 22 and where Cosmos Pizza used to be and Reed Boulevard. This is obviously an unopened alley. This is the same as the last one we talked about up in White Valley. Carson Street, you know, is a tad different because Carson Street was a municipal roadway until Route 22 got reconfigured. So I think that's a tad different. We are giving up some rights there by vacating, if we vacate Carson Avenue, but you can't get to 22 anyway.
No.
So it's of no use to the municipality. So that's what item E is about.
Sorry.
I think, didn't Fox Enterprises buy Cosmos?
Yes, and I received from Mr. Morrison a lot consolidation plan. I can't speak for Mr. Fox what his plans are, but I think generally speaking, he wants to substantially revitalize and improve that area.
And I guess my question is, it's not like something we own in fee simple so that we're giving up our property or anything. I mean, at this point, we're just giving up nothing, right?
We're giving, on the alley, nothing in my opinion. On Carson Street, only our right to use the street if we wanted because we did open it. It was a public street.
as a street,
As
but
a
again, it's not something where, we have any financial benefit in vacating it, correct?
That's exactly correct, and that, if we vacate the street, then it's up to the property owner to, I can't speak as to whether or not that's in a recorded plan, or else follow the old law where the street gets
Yeah, right in the
divided
middle.
half, and each
Yep.
side, it's half the street.
Hey, but I mean, perfect, let them handle it. Again, since it's not fee simple, we're not losing anything, and we're just essentially saying, hey, if somebody wants to develop it, go for it.
That's
Because
correct.
all we're losing is the right to pave it.
The right to maintain.
Yeah. Okay, questions or concerns? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion passes. It is unanimous. Thank you. Can I have a motion for 15A, please?
Yeah, motion to authorize advertisement for DPW 4-24, a 2024 crack sealing project.
Second the motion.
Thank you, Eli and Carl. Michael?
Yes, this is a project that was included in the 2024 CIP. The budget amount is $30,000. The roads scheduled for this year's crack sealing program include Old William Penn Highway between Klein Hollow and Export. So the crack sealing extends the life of the pavement and prevents water from infiltrating into the pavement surface.
Okay. Again, this is just the advertisement. Any questions or concerns?
Well, doesn't this go over the bridge?
This
Klein
may,
Hollows, okay,
yeah,
so
it may.
what bearing does that have on anything?
I don't think that it would crack. The crack sealing process is
Just
not,
go around it?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions or concerns? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Okay, that brings us to 15B. Can I have a motion, please?
Motion to award the contract for inspection services for the 2024 overlay project.
Thank you, Jamie and Eli. Michael?
Yes, this is for the inspection services for the 2024 overlay project. The loan bidder, the loan RFP that we received was from Gibson Thomas Engineering in the amount of $32,237. We did budget for the overlay inspection services in an amount of $40,000, so it is under the anticipated budget amount. The RFP submitted by Gibson Thomas would be a fair and responsible proposal, and staff would recommend acceptance for Gibson Thomas to receive the award.
Okay, questions or concerns from council? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you, everybody. And then we have 15C. Can I have a motion, please?
I'd like to make a motion to consider the award of a contract for DPW-1-24 2024 overlay project.
Second the motion.
Thank you, Jason and Carl. Again, we do this every year, but it's a big project. So, Michael, any overview?
Sure, yes. So this is the DPW project here. The overlay project was not to exceed $1.5 million. The lowest bid came in from Tresco Paving at 1.507, so $1,507,905. So just slightly over the 1.5 million. It's within 2.1% of the engineer's estimate of 1.54 million as they bid out the project. So staff would recommend, there were 5 bids received on the project. Tresco was the low bidder at $1,507,000. The next lowest bidder, just to kind of compare, was pretty close, Liberoni at $1,514,000. Other bids were in the 1.6 million range. So staff would recommend awarding the contract to Tresco Paving in the amount of $1,507,905.
Okay, I mean, 5 bids and they were the lowest. Any questions or concerns? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes. It is unanimous. Any old business from anyone this evening? Any new business? No executive session, so can I?
The air conditioner will be,
So I apologize to everybody as they're suffering from heat exhaustion.
It actually cooled down a little bit in here.
The air handlers are due to be received by the municipality within the next 2 weeks, and installation will take place thereafter. We're hoping to be up and running sometime in early June. As you can see, the impact is now affecting the entire building, no longer just the police side and some of the offices. We're now having heat troubles, cooling troubles, I guess you should say, throughout the entire building. So hopefully it will be repaired by the next meeting.
Yeah, the real people I feel bad for is staff, because you're here every day. So yeah, let's get everybody cooled off. But with that said, one more motion, please. Motion to adjourn.
motion to adjourn.
All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. We're adjourned. Thanks, everybody.